In 1939, Germany built the largest express steam locomotive the country had ever seen. A streamlined monster, 4 coupled axles, 2,800 metric horsepower, designed to tear across the hills at 140 kilometers an hour. 2 were built. Both were scrapped, and almost nobody remembers they existed. This is the story of the DRG 06001, the super train that failed, the locomotive that derailed on its first test run, and why I own the only model version ever made. So what even is the DRG 06? If you've never heard of it, you're not alone. I've been collecting Marklin for years, and I only discovered this locomotive existed about 2 years ago. That's when Marklin released it as their 2022 Insider Club model, and I knew I had to have it. The real 06 was part of Germany's Einheitslok program, the standardized locomotives. You know the class 01, the 03, the 05, those beautiful streamlined speedsters. The 06 was supposed to be the heavy-hitting express version of that family, designed for hill country. 4 coupled axles instead of the usual 3. A boiler that was 7.5 meters long, the longest ever fitted to a German express locomotive at the time. 26.5 meters long, 141 tons, driving wheels 1,400 millimeters across. This thing was massive, the biggest German express locomotive on the rails in 1939, and, pause on this, they only built 2. The brief was simple. Build a locomotive that can pull a 650-ton train at 120 kilometers an hour on the flat, and when it hits a 1 in 100 gradient, that's a 1% grade, it still needs to do 60. Through the hills, fully loaded. This wasn't a showpiece. Germany needed real horsepower for its express network, and it was going to look good doing it. Like the 01.10, the 03.10, and the famous 05, the 06 was fully streamlined, that beautiful flowing casing from nose to cab. You look at this locomotive and you think, this is the future. This is what German engineering looked like in 1939, except the future had other plans. So the 06001 leaves the Krupp factory in Essen, spring 1939. First test run. Massive expectations. There is genuine prestige on the line. This is supposed to be Germany's new heavy express locomotive, the pride of the Reichsbahn, and almost immediately it derails. The problem was the curves. German main lines have plenty of them, and the 06001, with its long, rigid wheelbase, just couldn't handle them. Anything tighter than a 180-meter radius, and that's not even particularly tight for a main line, and the thing was grinding itself apart. So they improvised. On the 06001, they pulled the flanges off the 3rd coupled axle entirely. On the 06002, the second prototype, they shaved down the flanges on both the 2nd and 3rd axles and gave the 3rd axle 10 millimeters of side-to-side play. These are fixes you apply to a locomotive that was designed wrong from the start. And if the derailments and excessive wear weren't bad enough, there was a second problem, that beautiful streamlined casing. It looked incredible, but in summer, the temperature underneath it got dangerously high. The boiler was already pushing the limits of what a steam locomotive could handle, and the streamlining trapped all that heat. Worse, you know what happens when something breaks and you need to fix it? On a normal locomotive, you walk up and you can reach the parts. On the 06, you have to remove the streamlining panels just to access basic components. Maintenance took forever, and when you're running wartime schedules with limited crews, that's not sustainable. So you've got a locomotive that derails on curves, chews through its running gear, overheats in summer, and takes twice as long to maintain as any other engine in the fleet. And there are only 2 of them, so there's no fleet commonality, no spare parts pool, no shared knowledge. Every repair is a custom job. Both 06s were stationed at Frankfurt during the war, running express services to Erfurt. They were supposed to prove that the design could perform under real conditions. But the numbers never added up. The operating cost per kilometre was far higher than the standard locomotives already in service. The 06s were more expensive to run and less reliable. That's a death sentence for any locomotive. Then came the bombing. The 06002 was hit in an air raid and severely damaged, beyond repair. And at that point, with one prototype wrecked and the other a maintenance disaster, the Reichsbahn quietly sidelined the 06001 as well. 2 locomotives, 2 failures. Eventually the decision was made. Both were officially withdrawn and sent to the scrapyard. The post-war Deutsche Bundesbahn had no use for them. They didn't fit the new network. They were too heavy, too expensive, too specific. The most powerful express locomotive Germany had ever built. Gone. No museum piece, no preserved example. Nothing. 0 locomotives survived. So when Marklin announced this model as their 2022 Insider Club locomotive, I didn't hesitate. Insider Club means it's a one-time production run. They make a batch, they sell them to club members, and that's it. They don't re-release it next year. If you miss it, you're on the secondary market, hoping someone decides to sell. This is Marklin article number 39662, the DRG 06001 in H0 scale. Black with the red wheels. Classic Era 2 livery. Full MFX plus digital decoder. And the smoke generator, which on a locomotive this size is absolutely the main event. I'm going to let it run for a bit with no talking, just watch and listen. The DRG 06 is one of those locomotives that history just forgot. It wasn't successful enough to be celebrated, wasn't numerous enough to leave a trace, and by the time anyone might have wanted to preserve one, there was nothing left to preserve. But I think that's exactly why models like this matter, because this is the only way anyone gets to see a Class 06 run in 2026. If you want to see more rare locomotives like this, I've got a Class 10002, a Class 02, a V60 diesel. The collection's growing, and I'm going to keep making these deep dives. Drop a comment. What rare Marklin locomotive should I cover next? Subscribe if you haven't already. And if you're a fellow Insider member, let me know what you think of this model. Thanks for watching.